Hi, this is Chris Morrow at Comic-Con at Home. My home is on a boat behind the San Diego Convention Center, and the panel is Prototype and Game Pitches, Publishing Your Tabletop Game. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. You guys would introduce yourselves and tell me where your home is.
Cool. I'm Ross Thompson. I'm a marketing manager at the Op. I was the moderator for the panel, and my home is here in San Diego in my gaming office.
I'm Ariel Rubin. I'm one of the creators of fun at the Wild Optimists, and my home is in Van Nuys, and this is my rather messy office with prototyping and games.
Hi, I'm Jon Cohn. I'm a game designer with Bread and Circuses, a design studio based here in San Diego, and I'm in San Diego.
I'm Juliana Ariel. I am another creator of fun at the Wild Optimists, and my home is my very crowded office in Mar Vista, California.
I'm Pat Marino. I'm a game designer at USAopoly, or the Op, and my home is in Lemon Grove, just outside of San Diego.
And I am Eric Slauson. I'm a card and board game designer. My home is in Northern Virginia, about an hour outside of DC.
That's exciting because that's where I'm from.
Oh,
we didn't discuss that before.
Tell me about your panel. What did we learn?
We've got a great collection of people that work in different, so that they explained how to pitch their games, what kind of things are really good when talking to publishers, and then how things are a little bit different because of COVID times.
So how do you pitch a game? Educate me on that.
I'll jump in a little bit. Traditionally, like, conventions are a big piece of it, right? Is when we're all together in the same hall and you can walk up to any publisher and sort of say, I've got this great game idea and I want to talk to you about it, and people schedule meetings ahead of time and all of that. But lately it's been a lot more video pitch. So videos or sell sheets, which are sort of a one-sheet descriptor of your game and what makes it great, are really the way it gets done lately. We spend a lot of time at the Op reviewing video submissions, usually like 3 to 5 minute videos of how the game works and what makes it fun, and all of that is what we rely on to at least get a first look and to figure out if something stands out enough for us to maybe print off a copy or have a copy sent to us to play.
And a lot of building of prototypes and sending them out.
And especially in COVID, figuring out how, instead of actually crafting together a prototype, doing it through, virtual means like Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, and using all sorts of video chat.
Yes.
It's kind of a new world right now with the pandemic, because you have to, I guess, craft everything completely different to where, I don't know, from a year from now, it's going to be another way of doing it then, right? Or will this be the way that it's going to be done going forward?
I think a lot of people have their eyes on that, whether some of these things are going to stick around. Is Tabletop Simulator going to be a huge deal from now on because people have really latched onto it? Are Zoom games going to be a thing that, is like a whole market now? So it's something that especially designers kind of have. We're trying to figure out how much we should invest in this new way of doing things.
I think it's going to, I was just going to say, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I think part of the tabletop revolution has been that people want to get off the screens, right? And it's so great to play with a tactile game. And certainly in some play tests we're doing right now with games, people are like, well, this was a little frustrating, but it's because, it didn't work so well on a screen. But on the other hand, you can play with people all over the world that your friends that you don't normally get to play games with. Mm-hmm. And the people that you can test with and the people that you can pitch to and the way that they can experience your game is so much broader now. So I think it's going to be both and depend on the type of game too.
And in a lot of ways, it's kind of going back to basics. A lot of games have become very component heavy in recent years, and coming from the standpoint of, okay, I need to be able to play test this over Zoom or over Tabletopia, it's really an opportunity to flex your creative muscles and say, how can I distill what could potentially be a heavy component game down into something that anybody can play with really just a pencil and paper and maybe a couple of dice from their own house.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the panel. Do you feel that you had more attention from people because it's a at-home panel than physically at the convention center?
So for the panel, we ended up doing it more of like a roundtable discussion amongst ourselves. We had pre-recorded it about a month ago, and it was really kind of nice. I was right in the middle of filming a bunch of panels for Comic-Con and other stuff too, so it was kind of a fun way for everybody to chat. Having done a lot of panels at conventions where there's usually you talk for like 30 minutes and then have like a 15-minute Q&A with the audience, it definitely created a different environment because normally it's much more of a, here's a question, here's a response, gauge how the audience is doing. But we were really treating it more like a discussion amongst ourselves, which I thought gave a lot more content and a lot of cool kind of back and forth ways that we normally wouldn't have had because we're all trying to speak into the mic and do this thing and not interrupt. But because we've all been doing so many Zoom conversations lately, it was a fun way to make it happen.
And I love that it's so accessible. I think it's always so difficult. It's so expensive to travel to convention and take the time off and everything. And it's a lot. And so saying, hey, this is something that anyone can do no matter where they are. I think that really opens the door to a lot of, kind of game designers who are just starting out. They might not have the money to invest in traveling to conventions, but they can still be present and hear what these panelists have to say.
Yeah, and I've got some. I was going to say, since this has gone live, I've already had some people reach out and say they watched it or retweet it and stuff. So yeah, I think people have already kind of started digging into it, and it's available, just on YouTube now. So it's not like a one and done. I couldn't get in line for the panel, and so now I never get to see it. So that's one of the other benefits of having them digitized in that way.
Yeah, last year I was fortunate enough to be on this panel for Comic-Con, and the line was very long out the door, and a lot of people who were even at Comic-Con weren't able to get in. So having it be much more available this year is really great for, I would say great for everyone, with, of course, COVID excluded.
Do you think moving forward that they're going to be including this type of format in like Comic-Con or other type of conventions like this?
So that's been a fun talk around a couple other conventions. Like for us in the tabletop industry, Gen Con is going to be next weekend, and that's another big convention going on where a lot of publishers are creating online play and doing discussions there. I hope that we do a lot more of having a virtual with in-person, because as Juliana brought up, there's a lot of people that just can't go to shows due to work and costs and all these things. And being able to be more inclusive and reach an audience that you wouldn't normally reach is a great way to do that. And I hope conventions continue to do digital content.
I think it's always kind of been a goal too, right? Is to figure out how do we get the cameras into the rooms and record them and have high enough quality to share it, and what's the approach to it. And one of the things that I see as a benefit is, all of this change has forced us to finally figure out how to make it work. Whereas before it was with everything else going on, it was always sort of a back burner. We'll get to that task. And now we've been forced to figure out Tabletop Simulator better and Tabletopia and how to use Zoom to record things and how to do all these pieces so that, even if we return to more of a normal in-person convention, we've gained all these skills because we've had to, and more people know how to do it, and more people are familiar with looking for the content online and expecting it to be there. So I think that hopefully will create a really positive shift towards even, digital badges for conventions and things like that to get people virtually in the door without having to pay for flights and hotels.
And
it's
not
really
just
too, right?
I was just going to say, and not just like to watch panels, but I know for Gen Con, we have a game that we're going to be running the game. They've built this lovely booth in Tabletop Simulator that looks like a convention booth, and you'll be, sitting in the room playing the game. Cool. I think that, hopefully that continues too, so that people who don't come to conventions have an opportunity to try all of these games that are at the conventions.
So tell me what advice that you have for people just starting out, and then if each of you can just give a quick little bit of advice.
Ariel, you want to start?
Yes. I think that, I mean, I think the biggest advice is from the panel, which is like, do your research. Whatever type of game you want to make, play all the games like it. Whoever you want to pitch to, know what's on their slate and why your game would be a good fit for that, and say that, you know, in your pitch. Just really don't take the research component and the preparation component of all of this lightly. Do the work, and I think that you know, that's really helped us, and I think that that's a really big part of this.
I think the most valuable piece of advice I was ever given is that you can't have excuses. You have to just sit down and do it. A lot of people, I think, approach game design, or really any medium, where they think that in order to be published, they have to be a master at their craft. And really the biggest thing separating somebody who gets published versus somebody who doesn't get published is that somebody who gets published finished what they set out to do. And so it's really important to just have the follow through and say, you know, this may not be the greatest thing I've ever made, but it's something that I can make and finish. And then hopefully the lessons you learn will carry you into the next project and the next project. But the greatest hurdle in any of this is just sitting down and actually making sure that you can finish what you start.
And on that note, I would say play test as much and as often as you can. If you have an idea, make it quick and get it on the table, and first see if it's fun for you and the people around you, and then get it out to a much broader audience and see who this appeals to, because that's going to show you so much quicker than debating in your head or with your partner for so long of how things will work. Just see what people think of it, and that will answer so many questions.
Mm-hmm. Going off of Ariel and Juliana's points about, you know, doing research and seeing what's fun, definitely like design the things that you actually like and like that you want to play. You know, there's something to be said for noticing trends and those sorts of things, but you know, the same way that you write what you know, as Ariel said, like play a lot of the types of games that you want to design or the types of games that you enjoy, and then try to improve on that genre, or you know, think of a genre that maybe you wish you liked, but it's not fun for you for some reason, and then figure out a way to make it fun. That's one of the reasons that Ariel and Juliana's stuff is so cool, is it's like weird out there, like a completely different way of a completely different type of play. So, you know, see if you can figure out a way to do something different, I would say, is my advice.
Adding to all that, I would kind of say networking is the other piece of it. And networking means like building up a group of reliable play testers who are going to be willing to play your game and give you useful, meaningful feedback. But also in the profession, in the industry itself, you know, it's the board game industry. It's full of people who like to sit around a table and play games with other people. So you're going to find a lot of friendly people who are willing to give advice. They're willing to share with you. You know, when I started out, I was surprised to find that like you could look up who your favorite game designer was, and you could just reach out to them and get a response. You know, I remember very early on emailing Matt Leacock, who designed Pandemic, and saying, hey, I have a question about how you did this when you were starting out, and I got a response within like an hour and a half. And I'm like, oh, that's just a nice guy. Okay, that's great to know. And that's really been the trend throughout my time in this industry is, you know, whether you need advice on how to get a game manufactured and produced, how to market it, how to reach out to reviewers, or how to reach out to publishers and who to talk to. I don't think I've ever encountered anyone in this industry that was negative or discouraging or who wouldn't make the time for a new designer, because the reality is the next hot, great game can really come from anywhere, and we all want to find that game. Even if it's a competitor to our games, we want to play it. So I think everybody's really eager to find out where that next hot thing is going to come from. And
on that too, it's really important on the networking thing. Feel free to email publishers and be like, hey, are you going to be at this coming show? Or I have a pitch for you, and just keep that relationship going. You don't have to make it all about, oh my gosh, I have a pitch for you, but just find out what they're going to be doing, look into what kind of games they're making, and make sure you're having those conversations just to kind of keep them in the thing, because it's always fun to catch up at Gen Con or Origins or Comic-Con, or if they're not going to be there, hey, I was just thinking about this thing. What do you think, right? So keeping those relationships open, that way when you do want to go and pitch your game, that's not the first thing you can bring up. Everyone's up to share what's going on, and everyone's pretty excited what's happening because everybody has something new coming out. So being able to just talk and build that community is really important.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I think we got everybody, right?
We did.
Oh, good. I appreciate your time. I'm Chris Morrow and remotely connected in San Diego for Comic-Con at Home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was great. A lot of good information.
Thank
I
you, Chris.
appreciate it.